Let's talk a little bit about time delay shutdown. This particular customer has got time delay shutdown on their pressure washer. They've got some remote switches. We have a pump to the left, a burner in the middle, and detergent on the right. When I got here today, the pump and the burner was on, which with time delay shutdown is okay. Typically the machine will go ahead and run through its time cycle and shut off. This one, the pressure washer was actually running. Even though the pad was dry, that lot of water that you see right there is actually from me testing the unit. And so I went ahead and I wanted to see what was going on with the machine, why it was still running. And what I found was that, and this happens occasionally with folks, is you've got an unloader valve that has a built-in pressure switch, and that pressure switch sends a signal up to a timer. Sometimes that pressure switch will get hung up and won't be reliable. Typically the symptoms on this type of unloader with the bypass switch, some people call that a pressure switch. It's really not. It's a bypass switch, because as you notice, it's actually plumbed into the bypass line. The water goes through, comes up, out, and then goes along this red hose right back up in to the water tank. So it's actually a bypass switch, and that's what activates the timer. So in this case, since the pump is running, everything's real hot. The head's hot because the water is still being recirculated, and it's coming back into the pump, and so that's going to dry everything out and cause all kinds of problems. So what I did was wanted to find out how come that is working, and why that's not working correctly. So this cover was already had the bolts off, which is okay because we do a routine schedule maintenance on this unit. And here we have the timer block. This jumper wire is normally where the wires would go from the bypass switch. Typically the bypass switch, you've got one ground wire, which is the yellow one, then you got two black ones, and the black ones would go here. So at some point in time, that bypass switch has gone bad, and in order to make the system run, they've put this jumper wire on there. So the machine thinks that the bypass switch is telling it to go ahead and keep running, when in reality, if they don't shut the machine off, it'll sit there and run. So we'll notify the customer that needs to be repaired. But it's also kind of a simple, quick trick if you're on a job and you don't have an unloader with the bypass switch, and you want to find out whether or not that's actually the problem, because normally the symptom is that the machine won't come on. They turn the toggle switches on. This one's got toggle switches at the machine as well as outside on the wall. You turn those on and the unit won't start. And so what we tell them when they call in is go ahead and release the pressure in the system, and by releasing the trapped pressure, typically that'll go ahead and allow that bypass switch to engage, allows the timer block to complete the signal over to the contactor, the holding coil. So if we tell the customer go ahead and pull the gun and release the pressure, and all the toggle switches are on and the unit still won't come on, then 9 times out of 10 it's just a hung up bypass switch. Now I've tried to take these apart and free them up and clean them and all this kind of crazy nonsense, but they don't work reliably. So when I run across this, we just simply replace it. In the unusual situation in which you don't have one of these on your truck, then to get the guy by, you can make yourself a little jumper wire and just put a jumper right across number 4 and 5, and that'll fool the timer system into thinking that this bypass switch is working correctly until we do install the right one, the new unloader with the new bypass switch. And I never replace just the bypass switch. I always replace the regulator with the bypass switch all at once, and then come up here and go ahead and plug it in. So hopefully that kind of explains a little bit about bypass switches on unloader valves and timer blocks. And if you have any questions, you can contact us at www.aefresno.com or talk to your supervisor.